To the daughter-in-law who finally learned her place. My mother-in-law said that into a microphone at my son's first birthday party, in front of 94 guests, holding a champagne flute like she was accepting an award. People clapped. His aunts, his cousins, her book club friends, women I'd never met but who somehow had opinions about how I raised my child. My husband didn't clap. He walked to the living room TV, connected his phone, and pressed play on a video he'd been saving for 11 months. Since we're making speeches, he said, let me show everyone who you really are. What happened next made her oldest friend walk out of the party in tears. Her financial advisor resigned the following Monday, and her own sister called my husband to say thank you. I'm Maren. I'm 31 years old. And this is the story of how my husband spent almost a year quietly building a case against his own mother, not for a courtroom, but for a birthday party she tried to turn into her stage. To understand what happened that afternoon, you need to understand the Calloway family. My mother-in-law, Judith Calloway, is the kind of woman who introduces herself by mentioning her house. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, overlooking the 7th hole at Pine Ridge Country Club in Scottsdale. Appraised at $1.6 million, though she'll tell you it's worth more. She retired early from her position as VP of Operations at a regional insurance company, walked away with a severance package she describes as comfortable, and has spent the last 9 years treating retirement like a full-time career in controlling everyone around her. Her husband, my father-in-law, Gerald, died of a heart attack in 2019. Good man, quiet. The kind of person who'd slip you a $100 bill at Christmas and whisper, "Don't tell Judith." I think he spent 34 years of marriage keeping the peace by staying invisible. When he died, the buffer disappeared, and Judith's need for control expanded to fill every available space. There are 2 sons. My husband, Cole, the younger one, 33 years old, a structural engineer who designs bridges for a living, makes $142,000 a year, works 60-hour weeks, and has never once asked his mother for money. Then there's his brother, Travis, 37. The golden child. Travis runs a real estate investment company that Judith bankrolled with $320,000 of Gerald's life insurance payout. The company has yet to turn a profit in 4 years, but Judith calls him an entrepreneur. She calls Cole the employee. I met Cole in March 2023 at a friend's engagement party in Tempe. He was standing by the dessert table, eating a cupcake with a fork, which I thought was the most ridiculous and somehow charming thing I'd ever seen. We talked for 2 hours. He asked me about my work. I'm an ER nurse at Banner University Medical Center, 12-hour shifts, $89,000 a year, and I've held more dying people's hands than I can count. Most men hear nurse and immediately pivot to something about themselves. Cole asked me what the hardest part was. No one had ever asked me that. 4 months later, he brought me to Scottsdale to meet his mother. That's when I learned what I was walking into. July 2023. Judith's house. The dining room with the chandelier she imported from a shop in Charleston, which she mentioned 3 times during the first course alone. I wore a navy blue dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion. $180, more than I'd normally spend, but I wanted to make a good impression. Judith opened the door, looked me up and down, and said, "Oh, you're smaller than I expected. Not hello. Not nice to meet you. Just a measurement." Dinner was an interrogation disguised as conversation. Where did I grow up? Flagstaff. Small town. What did my parents do? My father was a mechanic. My mother worked at a school cafeteria before she passed. I see. Did I own property? I rented a 1-bedroom apartment. At your age? Cole tried to redirect. Mom, Maren just got promoted to charge nurse. She's managing a whole department. Judith smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't reach past the lips. That's nice. Nursing is steady work. Not everyone has ambition, and that's perfectly fine. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Something older. That familiar feeling of being weighed and found lacking by someone who decided the verdict before you walked in. On the drive home, Cole was quiet for 20 minutes. Then he pulled into a gas station parking lot and turned to me. "I need to tell you something about my mother. I think I already know." "No," he said. "You don't. Not all of it." He told me about his childhood. How Judith had decided before either son could walk that Travis was the special one. Travis got piano lessons, soccer camp, SAT tutoring. Cole got hand-me-downs, and the expectation that he'd figure things out on his own. When Cole got a full scholarship to Arizona State for engineering, Judith told her friends he went to a state school. When Travis dropped out of the University of Arizona after 2 semesters, she called it a strategic pivot. When Gerald died and left $640,000 in life insurance, Judith split it in a way that tells you everything. Travis got $320,000 for his business venture. Cole got $40,000 for emergencies. The remaining $280,000 went into Judith's personal accounts. Gerald's will, Cole found out later, had actually specified an even split between both sons. Judith, as the executor, had discretion over distribution. She used that discretion to rewrite her dead husband's wishes. "Why didn't you fight it?" I asked. "Because I was 27, my dad had just died, and I didn't have the energy to go to war with my own mother over money." He paused. "And because I thought maybe she was right. Maybe Travis needed it more than I did." That sentence broke my heart. Not the words themselves, but the way he said them. Like he'd repeated it so many times he almost believed it. We got married in October 2023. Small ceremony, 40 people, at a vineyard outside Sedona. I paid for my own dress. Cole paid for the food. We split everything down the middle because that's how we do things. Judith was furious about the size. 40 people? What will people think? She wanted 200 guests, a country club reception, a 12-piece band. She wanted a stage. I said no. Politely, firmly, clearly. That was the day Judith Calloway decided I was the enemy. The first year of our marriage was a masterclass in passive aggression. Judith had a gift for the kind of cruelty that leaves no fingerprints. She'd show up unannounced at our apartment with groceries I hadn't asked for, then tell Cole, "I just worry she's not feeding you properly." She'd comment on my work schedule. 12-hour shifts? I don't know how you'll manage when you have children. If you have children. She'd compare me to Travis's wife, Noelle. Noelle always sends thank you cards. Noelle keeps such a beautiful home. Noelle understands the importance of family. Noelle, for the record, privately told me she was miserable. "Judith runs our lives," she whispered at Thanksgiving, her eyes glassy. "Travis won't say no to her because she holds the money over his head." I haven't made a single decision about my own household in 3 years. I filed that away. I didn't know yet how important it would become. In February 2024, I found out I was pregnant. Cole and I were overjoyed. Terrified but overjoyed. We agreed to wait until the 12-week mark to tell family, standard precaution, especially after everything I'd seen in the ER. Judith found out at 9 weeks. She went through Cole's phone while he was in the shower during a Sunday visit. Saw the text thread between us where we'd been discussing baby names. She didn't confront us about the invasion of privacy. Instead, she called Travis, called her sister, called 3 of her friends, and announced the pregnancy before we'd even had our first ultrasound. When Cole confronted her, she played the victim. "I'm just excited. I'm going to be a grandmother. You can't blame me for sharing good news." "We asked you to wait, Mom." "Well, I'm sorry if my joy is inconvenient for you." That was her superpower. Reframing every boundary as an attack, every request as an insult, every consequence as persecution. She wasn't intrusive. She was involved. She wasn't controlling. She was helping. She wasn't cruel. She was honest. My son was born in October 2024. Wyatt James Calloway. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Born at 3:47 a.m. after 14 hours of labor. Cole held my hand through every contraction. His mother showed up at the hospital at 6 a.m., walked past me without a word, picked up the baby, and said to Cole, "He looks just like Travis did." Not like Cole, like Travis. Even my newborn son wasn't allowed to belong to my husband. She posted photos on Facebook before we'd even called my father. Captioned it, "Grandma's boy is here." The next Calloway man. No mention of me. No mention of the woman who'd just spent 14 hours bringing him into the world. I was exhausted, hormonal, and for the first time, furious in a way I couldn't contain. But I said nothing. Not then. Because I'd just had a baby, and I didn't have the energy to fight a woman who'd been perfecting her weapons for 61 years. But Cole saw. He saw the Facebook post. He saw her walk past me. He saw the way she held our son like he was hers, like I was just the vessel. And that night, while I slept with Wyatt on my chest, Cole sat in the hospital corridor and started making phone calls. I didn't know it then, but that was the night my husband began building a case. November 2024. The first month home with Wyatt was chaos. Beautiful, sleepless, overwhelming chaos. And Judith made it worse at every opportunity. She showed up 3 times a week, uninvited. Rearranged my kitchen because it wasn't baby-safe. Left parenting books on the counter with passages highlighted. Titles like The First Year, A Guide for New Mothers Who Need Help. She told me I was holding the baby wrong, feeding him wrong, sleeping him wrong. Everything I did was wrong, and she had the expertise to fix it, despite the fact that her own younger son had spent his childhood feeling invisible. I asked Cole to set boundaries. He tried. Every conversation ended the same way. "Mom, we need you to call before you come over. I'm your mother. I shouldn't need an appointment to see my grandson. Maren and I need space to figure things out as new parents. If Maren can't handle a little help, maybe she's not cut out for this." That last one. That was the comment that changed everything. Not because it was the worst thing she'd said, but because Cole heard it directly, standing in our kitchen, holding our son, and something in his face shifted. A door closed. Quietly, permanently. He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He just said, "I think you should go home, Mom." She left in a huff, called Travis to complain. Travis called Cole to mediate. The usual cycle. But that night, Cole sat at our kitchen table with his laptop open and told me something that made me set down the bottle I was warming. She changed Dad's life insurance distribution. I found the original documents. He'd spent weeks digging through his father's old files, boxes Gerald had stored in a rental unit that Judith apparently forgot existed. Gerald, meticulous as always, had kept copies of everything: the original policy, his handwritten notes, and a letter to his sons dated 6 months before he died. The letter was addressed to both Cole and Travis. It said, "I've left the insurance split evenly between you two. Your mother will want to control how it's distributed. Don't let her. You both deserve the same start. Love, Dad." Gerald had known. He'd known exactly what Judith would do, and he'd tried to prevent it from the grave. "How much did she take from you?" I asked. Cole's jaw tightened. $280,000. Dad wanted us each to get $320,000. She gave Travis his share, gave me $40,000, and kept the rest. $280,000. That money could have paid off our student loans, could have been a down payment on a house, could have given our son a college fund from day one. Instead, it sat in Judith's accounts, funding her lifestyle, her country club membership, her imported chandelier. "What do you want to do?" I asked. "I want to wait," he said. "I want to get everything, every piece of evidence, every lie. And then, I want to choose the right moment." "When?" He looked at Wyatt, sleeping in the bassinet. "His birthday party. She's already planning it like it's her event. She sent me a guest list of 94 people. I only recognize 30. I recognize the pattern. The same thing the bride in those revenge stories always describes. The parent who hijacks the event, invites their own people, makes it about themselves. Judith was planning to use our son's first birthday as her performance. "Let her plan it," Cole said. "Let her have exactly what she wants, and then let me show everyone what she's really like. For the next 8 months, Cole worked. He got the original insurance documents notarized by a lawyer friend who confirmed Judith had overridden Gerald's stated wishes. He obtained bank records, showing the money trail. He contacted Travis quietly and asked him one question. "Did Mom ever show you Dad's letter?" Travis was silent for 10 seconds. What letter? He didn't know. For 4 years, Travis had believed the uneven split was what Gerald wanted. He'd accepted $320,000 without realizing his brother had been shortchanged by $280,000, without knowing their father had explicitly asked for equality. Travis, to his credit, was devastated. "She told me Dad wanted me to have more because the business needed startup capital," she said. Cole agreed. "I never agreed to anything," Cole told him. "She never even showed me the documents." Travis went quiet for a long time. Then he said, "What do you need from me?" "Just be at the birthday party. And when the time comes, don't defend her." There was something else Cole found during those months. Bank statements from Judith's accounts showed a recurring transfer, $4,500 a month, going to an account registered to a property management company in Tucson. Cole traced it to a condo, a 2-bedroom, recently renovated, in a gated community. The condo wasn't in Judith's name. It was in the name of Victor Marsh, Judith's financial advisor, a man who'd been helping her manage Gerald's estate since 2019. Cole drove to Tucson on a Saturday. He parked across from the gated community and waited. At 11 a.m., Judith's white Lexus pulled into the parking lot. She got out carrying a grocery bag. Victor met her at the door with a kiss. Not a peck. Not a polite greeting. The kind of kiss that tells you everything about what happens after the door closes. Cole took photos. Not because he wanted to shame her, but because he needed to understand where the money was going. $4,500 a month for at least 3 years. That's $162,000 of Gerald's money, funneled to a condo she shared with a man she'd been seeing, while telling her sons she was too heartbroken to date. He came home that night and sat on the edge of our bed. I was nursing Wyatt. Cole looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger. Something heavier. "She's been lying about everything," he said. "About Dad's money. About being alone. About all of it." I reached for his hand with my free one. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be. I'm done being sorry. I'm done being the son who doesn't make waves." Wyatt's first birthday party was on October 11th, 2025, a Saturday. Judith had booked the event space at Pine Ridge Country Club, the one overlooking the 7th hole she loved to mention, catering for 94 guests, a 3-tier cake she'd ordered without asking us about flavors, a photographer, a balloon artist, a playlist she'd curated herself. Total cost, $11,400, which she'd announced to anyone who'd listen. "I'm sparing no expense for my grandson. No expense for the grandson, but $40,000 for the grandson's father when his own dad died." I wore a green dress. My hands were shaking when I buttoned it. Cole noticed. "You don't have to do anything today," he said. "I'll handle it." "I know. That's not why I'm shaking." "Why then?" "Because after today, everything changes. And I'm ready for it, but I'm still scared." He pulled me close. "Me too." The party started at 2 p.m. The guests filtered in. Judith's friends, her book club, her country club circle, people from the insurance company she hadn't worked at in 9 years. I counted the faces I recognized. 28 out of 94. The rest were Judith's audience. She worked the room like a politician, kissing cheeks, accepting compliments, steering every conversation back to herself. I planned everything. I wanted Wyatt's first birthday to be perfect. She held my son for the first hour straight, angling him toward the photographer every time the camera appeared. I stood 3 feet away, invisible. At 3:30, she took the microphone. Of course she did. She clinked her glass. The room quieted. She smiled. The performance was beginning. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my grandson's first year. Being a grandmother has been the greatest joy of my life. She paused, made eye contact with her friends. It hasn't been easy. I've had to step in quite a lot this year. New parents need guidance, and I've done my best to provide it, even when it wasn't always appreciated. She looked at me when she said that. Directly at me. A few people shifted uncomfortably. But today isn't about the challenges. Today is about Wyatt, my beautiful grandson. Another pause. Then the line that would become the last thing she said into a microphone. To the daughter-in-law who finally learned her place, and to the family that made it all possible. Cheers. Glasses went up around the room. A few people cheered. Most looked confused. I stood perfectly still, my face burning, my hands clenched at my sides. Cole was already moving. He walked to the TV, mounted on the wall, connected his phone, and pressed play. The room was still laughing, still clinking glasses, when his voice cut through the noise. Since we're making speeches, let me show everyone who you really are. The screen lit up. Gerald's letter appeared first, projected large enough for the entire room to read. I've left the insurance split evenly between you two. Your mother will want to control how it's distributed. Don't let her. Silence. Then the bank statements. The original $640,000. The distribution. $320,000 to Travis, $40,000 to Cole, $280,000 to Judith, side by side with Gerald's written instructions requesting equal shares. Judith's face drained of color. Cole, turn that off right now. He didn't. The next slide showed the monthly transfers. $4,500 a month to the property management company in Tucson. The condo registration in Victor Marsh's name. Then the photos. Judith's Lexus in the parking lot. Judith at the door. Victor greeting her. Someone in the back of the room gasped. I saw Judith's best friend, a woman named Diane who'd known Gerald for 30 years, press her hand to her mouth. That's $162,000 of Dad's money, Cole said, his voice steady, not shouting. Almost calm. Going to a condo you share with your financial advisor. While you told us you were too grief-stricken to leave the house. Judith grabbed for the phone. You had no right. This is my private. You took $280,000 from me. You rewrote Dad's wishes. You've spent 4 years telling everyone I was the son who didn't deserve as much. Cole looked at her. And you just stood at a microphone and humiliated my wife at our son's birthday party. So no. You don't get to talk about privacy. Travis stepped forward. His face was gray. Noelle stood beside him, her hand on his arm, and she was crying, but she was also nodding. Mom, Travis said. I talked to Cole. I know about the letter. I know Dad wanted us to get equal shares. His voice cracked. Why did you lie to me? Travis. Sweetheart, you don't understand the full picture. I understand that you took $280,000 from my brother and told me Dad wanted it that way. I understand that's a lie. The room was splitting. I could see it happening in real time. Judith's country club friends were gathering their things. Diane was already at the door. The photographer had lowered her camera. But other people, Cole's friends, my friends, the people who actually knew us, they stayed. 41 people left that afternoon. 53 stayed. Judith tried to regain control. She tried the tears. After everything I've done for this family, this is how you repay me? She tried the guilt. Your father would be ashamed of you both. She tried the threat. You'll never see a cent of my money. None of it worked. The room had seen the evidence. The letter was in Gerald's handwriting. The bank statements were notarized. The photos were date-stamped. Victor Marsh, who was not at the party but who apparently received 17 phone calls in the next hour, resigned as Judith's financial advisor by email that evening. Judith walked out at 4:15. She didn't say goodbye to Wyatt. She didn't look at me. She just walked to her Lexus, got in, and drove away. I watched her taillights disappear, and I waited for the guilt. The second guessing, the voice that had learned, over a lifetime of being told I wasn't enough, to apologize for taking up space. It didn't come. Cole appeared beside me, Wyatt balanced on his hip. "You okay?" I looked at my son. My husband. The 53 people still in that room who'd stayed because they cared about us, not about Judith's performance. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." "Then let's go give our son his birthday cake." We sang happy birthday at 4:30. Wyatt smashed his hands into the frosting and laughed. Cole's college roommate made a toast, a real one, about friendship and showing up when it counts. My father, who'd driven 4 hours from Flagstaff that morning in his best flannel shirt, held his grandson and cried for the first time since my mother's funeral. The photographer told me later it was the most real event she'd ever shot. By the following Tuesday, the fallout was in motion. Judith's sister, Margaret, called Cole that evening. She'd known about Victor for over a year, but had been afraid to say anything. "Your mother has a way of making you feel crazy for seeing what's right in front of you," she said. I'm glad someone finally said it out loud. Diane, Judith's best friend of 26 years, stopped returning her calls. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that Diane told people she felt physically sick about what Gerald's money had been used for. Travis and Noelle came to our apartment the following weekend. Travis had been in a fog since the party. He sat at our kitchen table, turning a coffee mug in his hands, and said something I never expected to hear. "The business money, the $320,000. I'll pay back Cole's half." Cole shook his head. "You don't have to do that." "Yeah, I do. Dad wanted it equal. It should be equal. It'll take me a while, maybe 2 years, but I want to make it right." Noelle reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm sorry," she said. "For all the times I didn't speak up. For all the times I let Judith treat you like you didn't matter." "You were surviving," I said. "Same as me." She nodded. Her eyes were wet. "Not anymore." November 2025. Cole and I, with the help of his lawyer friend, sent Judith a formal demand for the $280,000 that Gerald had designated for Cole. We included the original documents, the bank statements, and the notarized letter. Her lawyer responded 2 weeks later. "Mrs. Calloway maintains that all financial distributions were made at her discretion as executor and in accordance with her understanding of her late husband's wishes." Her understanding. Not his wishes. Her understanding. Even the legal language was a deflection. We didn't file a lawsuit. Not yet. But we made it clear we were prepared to. 3 weeks later, Judith's lawyer called back with an offer. $200,000 payable over 36 months. "No confidentiality agreement," Cole said. Silence on the other end. My father's wishes aren't something she gets to bury with an NDA. The agreement was signed in December 2025. First payment arrived on the 15th. Cole used it to open a college fund for Wyatt. Named the account after Gerald. Judith and I haven't spoken since the birthday party. Cole talks to her occasionally, brief calls, never longer than 5 minutes. She hasn't apologized. I don't think she knows how. Apologies require admitting you were wrong, and Judith Calloway has spent 61 years building a version of herself that can't survive that admission. Victor Marsh, as far as we know, is still in Tucson. Judith sold the condo. Where that money went is no longer our concern. Travis started therapy in January of this year. He told Cole that his therapist helped him see something he'd been blind to his whole life. The favoritism wasn't a gift. It was a leash. Judith gave Travis more because it made him dependent. She gave Cole less because she couldn't control him, and that terrified her. My father-in-law, Gerald, the quiet man who slipped you $100 and whispered "Don't tell Judith," knew his wife better than anyone. He wrote that letter because he knew she'd try to rewrite the ending. He just didn't live long enough to stop her himself, but his son did. Easter 2026 was at our apartment. I cooked. Cole mixed drinks, badly, which everyone found funnier than it should have been. Travis and Noelle brought their kids. My father drove down from Flagstaff with a pecan pie and a new flannel shirt. Margaret, Judith's own sister, came with a bottle of wine and a card that said, "Gerald would be proud." 6 adults, 3 kids, One small table we had to extend with a folding card table. No country club, no imported chandelier, no one performing for an audience. It was the best meal I've ever had. Today is April 2026. I'm 31 years old, still an ER nurse, though I was promoted to assistant nurse manager 3 months ago. I work 4 days a week now instead of 5, which means 1 extra day with Wyatt. Cole is designing a pedestrian bridge for the city of Mesa, a project he's been dreaming about for years. We're talking about buying a house. Nothing fancy, 3 bedrooms, a yard for Wyatt, maybe a dog. I don't hate Judith. I thought I would. I spent years bracing for an anger that never fully arrived. What I feel instead is something closer to pity. She's a woman who had a family that loved her, a husband who stayed loyal for 34 years, 2 sons who wanted nothing more than her approval, and she traded all of it for control. She chose the performance over the people. And now she watches from the outside while the people she pushed away build something real without her. I think about Gerald sometimes. The letter he wrote, the foresight it took to anticipate what his own wife would do, the heartbreak of knowing and writing it down anyway. I keep a copy in my bedside drawer, not as evidence, not as a weapon, as a reminder that love sometimes looks like a man who knows he's running out of time, picking up a pen, and trying to protect his sons from beyond the grave. He couldn't stop Judith, but he gave Cole the tools to stop himself from becoming invisible. You can't choose the family you're born into, but you can choose which patterns you carry forward and which ones you break. It took me years to learn that my worth wasn't determined by a woman who measured people by their usefulness. And it took Cole a lifetime to realize that being the less favored son didn't mean being the lesser one. If you've ever been made to feel small by someone who was supposed to build you up, if you've ever smiled through a dinner that felt like a trial, if you've ever been told your place by someone who had no right to assign one, I want you to know this. You're allowed to stop performing. You're allowed to set the terms. And you're allowed to choose the people who choose you back. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story meant something to you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. And if you want to hear more stories like this one, check out the video linked in the description. I think you'll find something there that resonates. I'm Maren. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.